Today, what time is it? It's checkpoint time, which is why it's weird that this is ChillPoint.
There's a lot of weird things about time today, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
February 29th.
Oh, yeah.
I don't buy the excuse that Graham is sick at all. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just came out. I think he's lying. I don't know why he'd have to, being the fact that he could just say so.
They launched it on the 29th?
Yeah, it came out today.
Wow, damn. All right, that's cool.
And you know what? You can tell they really want you to play it because Theatrhythm won't work today.
Wait, did they launch it?
That's a real thing, and I can explain.
Okay, they launched... Did they launch it like worldwide March 1st, Japan time?
Oh, heck if I know. I don't pay that attention to Final
Fair.
Fantasy.
That's okay.
Do some countries not do? It's not
No,
like
everybody
daylight
has to.
savings.
Yeah, everybody has to. But I'm like, but
for
it
a
is March
second.
1st, right? But I'm like, it seems odd that it just seems odd to be like, we're going to make a major announcement and just launch like a big thing. We're going to wait till the 29th to do it because it's February 29th is, let's be honest, we all think it's a weird day because it is a day out of time. It is a day that we did that doesn't always exist, but sometimes it does exist, and that is a weird thing to say.
Absolutely. But I love the fact that you almost had Paul going, wait, do other countries not have February 29th?
Yeah, I mean...
If you had told me that, like, if that was a thing, I would like have. I'd be like, wait, is that can't work, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we take away a month, like a day later on, and it'll evens
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So the Theatrhythm thing,
Yeah.
it's not just Theatrhythm. There's an EA game that's having this issue as well. It's because it's February 29th. Paul, you program things. You know how hard dates are.
Oh, no.
The 29th only happens every 4 years.
Is it
So
literally...
why would you bother testing it?
It's so for Theatrhythm, it's because it's trying to access the server to see if there's anything to download for like birthdays or whatever like the freebie stuff is, and it doesn't exist on the server, so it won't load the game. Like I think if you turn your thing into airplane mode or whatever, like you don't connect to the internet, it's
fascinating.
fine. But for the EA game, they basically put out a thing that was like, set your device to March 1st.
So what about everybody who's born on the 29th? You're supposed to get birthday somethings or others.
Well, when I say birthday stuff for Theatrhythm, that's like, oh, so and so in the game is this year, this old.
Oh, I
or
see.
like have free whatevers, that kind of thing.
It's character birthdays.
Yeah, it's not people birthdays.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, shout out to my bro, my older brother, who turns 11 today.
Hey, great.
Or at least has had 11 birthdays.
Oh.
They must be
But-
like a mother of a blowout. Like I mean, it's like if I only get to celebrate my birthday for realsies every 4 years, then I'm gonna go hard, right?
I don't know what he's planning, but yeah, it's
Yeah, but I just think it's a funny thing because it popped up like last night as people in time zones started to hit February 29th, and they were like, I turned on my game and it won't work. And so you had Reddit threads being like, wait, is my save corrupted? Is my game corrupted?
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
time and date. Yeah, time and dates are just a huge pain in the patootie.
I'm aching to let you get started, but at the same time, I really do want to ask, because I've never known anybody born on the 29th, as far as I know, and you're my closest connection to that now. Did Dan?
Yeah.
Did Dan have a hard time coming to terms with the fact that like he thought his birthday would be tomorrow and then found out that it was not? Like, did he ever have that experience as like a 3 or 4 year old or something?
I mean, I don't know because
Okay.
he's 3 years older than me, so he's so.
There are like stories in your family.
If he had some sort of existential crisis about it, I didn't really know.
Okay.
I mean, he was in the they put him. He was in the newspaper when he was born.
Ah.
They had him like baby picture of him next to like 80-year-old guy who's like he's turning 20.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we always just celebrated on the 28th
Okay.
when it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's ever been like a big deal, but it's just kind of a weird, funny thing.
It'd just be like if you're a child, you're very easily gaslit, and if you just knew that you had a birth. But then again, I guess
was confused because my watch is digital and it has the calendar date on it, and it went to March 1st.
Yeah.
So I went and corrected it.
I mean, most people who have like automatic watches. Anybody who has a mechanical watch.
With the little spinny thing.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of every month,
You have to reset it
you're
anyway.
resetting it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do find, this is all part of I mean, I've talked about it before, but I mean, as somebody who has done some programming involving dates, for instance, the calendar or the stream calendar on the Learning Ready Run website, which I think I didn't check. To be honest, I didn't check it this morning. Maybe I should. But and obviously for that I'm using a third-party library to do most of the date calculations. But even then, it's a problem. It is an awkward. It's an awkward thing for computers can tell time very well. They can count number of seconds.
Oh yeah.
Since a certain the epoch or whatever you want to do. That part is easy. The hard part is interpreting what people
mean.
Yeah, when they have certain dates.
People make everything difficult, don't they?
Cool.
It does work.
Like it works.
It works.
Yay.
Great. That's awesome. I remember being in school and we had math problems every now and then that would come up with you have to calculate this thing calendar wise, and then there's like a leap year thing. And I remember being very young and being like, but how will I know when a leap year happened? And everybody else who's much smarter than me is like, idiot, it's every 4 years. I'm like, that's an eternity. How do you know when a leap year will happen?
But it's hilarious to look at the patch notes or the sort of not patch notes but the update notes.
Yes.
For for instance the library that I was using or that I'm using is called Luxon. And it's the folks who made it had previously made another different JavaScript date and time library. So they were very experienced people. But there is still this thing that it seems relatively straightforward to make a thing that translates number of seconds into dates. It's just some division and multiplication stuff. And you can if you look through the patch notes, it's kind of people sort of going slowly insane of all because it's basically telling dealing with how humans interact with time is basically entirely edge cases. Yeah, it's all about not what's sort of the proper way to do it, but what people expect, especially, and this is the tricky part when you're doing with programming, when you start doing math. If, for instance, it's February 29th, yes, and the user, for instance, on the website, or on the calendar and stuff, I say take the current date and add 1 month to that date. Yes. Where should it go? Should it go to March 29th? Should it go to the end of March?
Is it 30 days or is it exactly to
Should it go 30 days forward?
Because you've said something that while is an accurate thing of what you're asking. I actually have this problem with
humans would interpret that quite easily.
Yeah.
But a computer has to be told.
I have this problem with Google Calendar because you can't tell it that you want an event to happen on the last day of every month. You can tell it what day of the month you want it to happen monthly. Right. But if you tell it you want it to be the 31st, that means if you have a month that doesn't have a 31st, that event just doesn't exist. Yeah. Which is why you can't try to fudge it that way either.
It's why whenever I've tried to set, if I had a banking app that allowed me to set things near the end of the month for whatever reason, or on what day do you want to have this repeat, I'd be just the 28th. Yeah. Just always the 28th. Yeah.
Anyway,
I like that sidetracking Paul is way easier if you bring a topic that he knows is going on.
I have to say, doing date math in Excel, I had to I had a lot of that kind of stuff I've had to do with our invoicing, and I'm just doing date math in Excel sucks. Just trying to be I need this to repeat so that the third Friday of every month is this one, and the third Thursday of every month is this one. And it's right, so here's how you do it. And it's this incredibly long formula, and I'm just why can't I just be third, like which one do you want? I'm like, I want the 3rd, and then which one do you want? Thursday R. Okay, great. And like R is for 3, R, whatever this month, and then like that's all I want is a function that does that shit, and they don't have anything like that.
As soon as you have something scheduled for like every other week, and then you run into the 5-week month, and now all your scheduling is messed up. Anyway,
wait a couple more weeks and we'll talk about daylight savings time again.
Yeah, that's a good biannual rant. Anyway, let's talk about as mentioned an hour ago at the beginning of the episode, this is ChillPoint, not CheckPoint. And as a behind-the-scenes thing, this is the time where we usually shoot CheckPoint.
Yeah, roughly around here.
Yeah. Depending on how much faffing around we do.
This is about the time people come in with food.
Yeah.
In about 45 minutes, the setup will be done.
Man, I love it under this bus.
Yeah.
It's so good under this bus.
It's warm.
It's very warm, very calming, fumes. Very loud.
Unfortunately, this week we're not able to do CheckPoint. Graham and Kathleen came back from Chicago, a little under the weather. I don't know what kind of potentially toxic magic they were playing in Chicago that got them sick. But
caught a few infect counters.
Anyway, yeah. Well, I mean, the Elder Dragon Social Club just went up with some heavy duty radiation. So who knows?
That's true. The Fallout stuff.
Who knows?
Is coming out. So yeah.
Nice.
Whether Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out had any part in that?
I'm just saying. It's very mysterious.
Not speculating.
Not mysterious. It's suspicious that a thing that Graham not only finished Elden Ring recently, but in enough time to start Final Fantasy Rebirth and happened to be sick on the same day. Yeah. I'm not saying he's lying, except I am.
Isn't that was it Dragon Quest? Is the game that is like a national holiday in Japan?
Essentially, yeah.
Because if they don't make it a holiday, everyone will just
they had to start releasing it on the weekends because otherwise people wouldn't show up. Yeah.
So we'll talk about the stories that would have made it, or some of which would have made it into an episode of Checkpoint.
Guess which of these stories would have made it into the Checkpoint.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week with your regularly scheduled Checkpoint.
I mean,
assuming something catastrophic doesn't happen.
It's not to say that some of these won't make it into next week.
That's true.
Because sometimes next week might not have any news.
Sometimes we want to keep. Sometimes stories are worth talking about.
Although after seeing some of the stuff that's been going down today, I don't know that will be newsless next week. So
we might workshop some good jokes today. So.
Yeah. So starting with, you mentioned the Elden Ring DLC, which is coming out, which looks very cool, if you've seen the trailers for it, and I'm sure has lots of tricky stuff in it for people who are really into the Elden Ring lore. There's definitely some heavy duty symbolism and exciting reveals. But the angle on it that IGN had was they grabbed an interview with the famous "Let Me Solo Her."
Yeah.
The famous guy who with the pot on his head. Who's still doing it.
But might stop once the DLC hits.
But yeah, he's saying that he's super excited about the DLC. And because apparently, for one thing, it appears that there's a character, a mysterious red-headed character near the end called Messimer, who stands on equal footing to those of other demigods, and he could be the rumor is that they may be a lost sibling to Millennia, and equal in terms of difficulty. So the idea is like, so are you going to switch over to soloing this other person? He's like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, what really got me in this article is there's a point where it says how many hours he's been playing this game for.
Yeah, about 1,200 hours.
And he's beaten her about 6,000 to 7,000 times by now.
Yeah, which that math is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
When you think about how long,
6,000 of anything is?
well, 6,000 of anything, but also like, he's been playing a lot of, done a lot of other stuff in the game.
Yeah.
So I imagine the speed in which he can do that fight now.
Yeah.
To get 6,000 of them in 1,200 hours.
Yeah.
He must be able to do that fight in 5 minutes or something.
Yeah,
now, by
absolutely.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I just think it's really
great.
cool that he's still been doing it. Like, we talked about it, but I would have assumed he would have fallen off of it by now.
No, it's
So
got
I
some.
think that's really neat. Normally when a story's like, oh, so we talked to this person about DLC for a game, I'm like, I don't really care. But I like the thing that we've had going on with Let Me Solo Her as a community thing.
Didn't From Software give him a special custom made
Sword thing,
katana? Yeah. Anyway, so we shall see. But he also apparently the other just random side note in here is he not only has fought Millennia 6,000 to 7,000 times, he also beat the game once using a mod that turned every enemy into Millennia.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
That seems like a long playthrough.
That does seem like,
But then again,
knowing nothing about the game
Yeah.
other than Millennia is a big boss fight, the idea that every single enemy is a boss fight.
I know it's not a short game. And because, it's open world and sprawling and there's lots of things to discover and explore. I know it's not short.
Yeah.
But I also assume it's one of those things where if you know where to go, you could probably make it shorter.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly speed runs.
I would also assume too. It's like, Mario stomps on a Goomba. He knows how to do that. He does it a lot. He's done it forever, right? So if you changed every enemy in the game into a Goomba, then it's like, oh, I have an easier time with this because I am completely used to fighting this
Right,
one
you don't
enemy.
have to change tactics or anything.
But if every enemy in the game was
Bowser?
one Bowser or one of the Koopa kids,
Yeah.
even if you know how to do it, it's
Yeah.
just gonna take a long
Yeah,
time.
absolutely, exactly. Yeah.
So just long fights.
Yeah. You might get a little faster and find ways to save time and stuff, but yeah.
Anyway, fighting their own existential problem, Sega that during their Q3 financial results, in a Q&A session, they saying they were talking about Sonic Superstars,
Right.
which by all accounts, a lot of fun.
Seems like, yeah,
Quite a-
pretty decent Sonic game.
For Sonic game, quite a 8 out of 10 from Nintendo Life in this case.
Nice.
But they mentioned that. But they're saying, although Sonic Superstars has been generally well received by those who played it, the timing of the launch coincided with competing titles in the same genre, and it has been short of the initial forecast. The strategic expansion of the Sonic IP is progressing well. We will continue. And so this article is like, what other competing title in the same genre came out at the same time as Sonic Superstars?
Yeah.
So they kind of basically what they're at least in the eyes of this article, what they're saying is they kind of whoopsed by releasing Sonic Superstars at the same time that Mario Wonder was coming out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we did previously make fun of them not that long ago for saying that they wanted Sonic to be more popular than Mario and that they could totally do that. And maybe they tried that, and now they will have to think about that a little harder.
I mean, they also, like, Sonic Superstars didn't just come out on the Switch, right?
No, it came out on the
it
Switch,
was a
PlayStation.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on Xbox because I don't pay attention to Xbox, but probably.
I find it a little hard
Steam.
then to be like, man, we could have done a whole bunch better if only this game that came out in a single platform hadn't come out at the same time that our game on every other goddamn platform came out. I'm like, I think that you're maybe...
Okay, but
might
when
be exaggerating.
when you're doing a Q&A session,
Yeah.
and someone comes up to you and they say, "Hey, why didn't this game do so well?" You go for every reason you can. It's not your fault.
It's like law, right? It's like when you practice law, it's like he didn't do it, and even if he did, it's legal. Like it's that kind of that kind of
Well,
attitude where you're like,
you don't
I'm
say
going to
that's
argue a
part.
whole bunch. I'm going to argue every argument I can come up with.
And it's also like, you know, how much choice they had about, I mean, how much choice they had about when to release it.
Sure, yeah.
And also, you know, they probably didn't know when Mario Wonder was going to release any sooner than
When did,
anybody else did.
When did Sonic Superstars come out?
Um,
Mario Wonder was like October.
yeah, I'm not.
It's around the October time.
Yeah, but it's like they probably couldn't have released it sooner
Yeah.
because it was being made.
Yep. There's
and,
that.
And like, you know, it was in production, and Mario Wonder was in production both for years, presumably.
Yeah.
So it's
I
not
just,
like they
know.
probably didn't have that much wiggle room in terms of when
I
it could have
actually
been
can't
released.
think of another game that would have come out at that time that would have been of kind of the platformer variety. I just think it would have been really funny if it had actually been some like indie had come out. Like, I don't know, if Silksong had finally come out and they were like, dang it, why did we go up against Silksong?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, they're just looking for.
Mario and Sonic competing is, I guess it's just,
Eternal.
it feels too easy because they constantly go to the Olympics together.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, if they had been like, yeah, it's, you know, we would have done great, but you know, whatever.
Even if it's like a week on either side, it's still like if Sonic Superstars has come out like a week prior to Mario Wonder, or had come out like, oh, it's a week after Mario Wonder came out, so time for everybody to buy another game, right?
Right.
Like I don't know what I don't know if any of that would have had an effect on how well the game performs, but I know that you have to say, well, it's got to be because of this reason this time. It's like I think that maybe the only way you get away with it is that you have to pick a time when absolutely no games are being released for a month on either side, and you're like, we're the newest game on the block. Everyone's decided to just basically, we're like, you know what, Sonic, you got a 2-month window now. You can just fucking go hard if you want to, and let's see how you do, right? I don't think that's gonna happen.
And it's funny, like, well, I mean, it's like I don't think you can plan stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it has happened. I mean, there have been definitely some instances over the years where that has, you know, people have kind of whoopsed into, oh, hey, we're the only thing around.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, they've gotten that sort of artificial boost for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
While waiting for other stuff to come out.
Yeah, it's not like they were going to say, hey, we projected wrong. But also, Sonic has that kind of, some games are good, many games are not, back and forth thing. And I feel like if, let's say everybody who played this game loved it, because you know that's not going to be true.
Yeah.
But every single, because I've definitely heard the contrary, but let's say every single person loved it.
Sure.
But you could only convince those people to play it.
Yeah.
So it really, like, the harder problem there is convincing other people to play your game.
You already nailed
right?
your audience, yeah.
Yeah,
And like, I don't think Sonic games have ever been. There's probably maybe a couple from earlier on, who knows? But I don't think there's ever been a Sonic game that came out and nobody got review copies. I don't think that's ever been the case.
Couldn't say.
At least, going as far back as my memory is, it has not really occurred to me that there's like a time when it's like they've ever been like, oh, this game's going to be dog shit. Well, don't give out any review codes and just release it anyway, right? And we'll hope that we scam some suckers into buying another Sonic game. It's like, no, the suckers will always buy the Sonic game. Don't worry. That's what they're for. That's why they're Sonic fans. Yeah.
I can think of a few Sonic games where they probably should have tried that. But anyway. Here's
Didn't realize Shade would be out.
here's something. Here's a place where maybe Sonic could show up.
Oh,
WWE 2K24
I didn't think I didn't think
wrestling.
the wrestling series was like Fortnite, in which everybody can go in.
This is wait and see. So, unfortunately, Graham isn't here to give the wrestling background. So I'm not totally sure if this is as weird as it seems to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe it isn't, but so they're bringing out some DLC for the new WWE game. 2 DLC packs.
Okay.
The first one is headlined with CM Punk, which is cool.
Okay.
He was last in WWE 2K15. And from what I understand, CM Punk has had a bit of a rocky history with WWE, but currently they are relatively okay with each other. So I guess that's why he's back. And so the ECW Punk pack releasing in May 2024 is CM Punk, Bubba Ray Dudley, Devon Dudley, Sandman, and Terry Funk, as well as Paul Heyman, the Paul Heyman manager card and superstar cards. So that's cool. That's not the part that I find weird.
Okay, good.
The part that I find weird is the pack that's releasing in June 2024.
Okay.
So in June, the next month, which is the Post Malone and Friends pack.
Is Post Malone a wrestler?
I know he's a singer. Maybe he's showing up maybe he's showing up and done some wrestling. I don't know.
I just wasn't sure.
So
who's in this pack, Paul?
Post Malone, the sensational. So I think everybody else here are actual wrestlers.
Okay.
Post Malone, the sensational Sherry.
Oh my goodness.
Mosh, Thrasher, Honky Tonk Man.
Oh my god.
Jimmy Hart, manager, and some My Faction content, whatever that means. Oh, that's the cards and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. Some celebrities have shown up as wrestlers.
Yeah.
I mean, Drew Carey wrestled on WWE once.
Yeah.
Like in the game or in the show?
In real life.
In the show. In real life.
Yeah.
So I could see Post Malone maybe has done a
But again, that's what I
thing.
mean. I know indie wrestling is the thing, and wrestling is not just the big spectacle WWE stuff. So when as far as I know, maybe he does a side gig as a wrestler under a different name because people do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the they've got the here. Let me.
Michael Che and Colin Jost wrestled in WrestleMania one year.
Did they?
Yeah. Basically, because they were making fun of the WWE, I think, on Weekend Update, and then a series of things went too far.
I will say. Post Malone doesn't really stand out.
No. I was looking at that image and I'm like, if you hadn't have pointed him out to me, I don't think I would have been able to find him in the image.
Yeah. But yeah, it hasn't quite reached Fortnite levels of everybody's there, but maybe it should.
He looks like Daniel Bryan, dyed his beard and got some tattoos.
I mean, The Rock is in Fortnite 4 times.
Yes, that's true.
In different personas.
Yeah, one is Maui, I'm sure. I don't know.
Presumably, he's also in WWE. So, there's some crossover there already.
God, if Post Malone showed up as Most Pallone, that would be very funny, Marvel Eve.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Can he use his the one ring that he bought, the extremely expensive Magic card that he bought?
That's good.
Actually, that being said, in the Magic Arena client, there's, I forget what it's called. There's a name for the AI player that you play against. That's sort of a, it's they do the all the tutorials and stuff for you. Sparky, is the AI player. having like it's like you can play against Post Malone.
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny, actually. I'm a little surprised that Arena's never done that. Reach out to the celebrities and be like, do you want to be the tutorial character? That would be kind of fun.
Or like he's got a special deck that has the One Ring in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe what you're saying is Magic will one day do a Universes Beyond that's just YouTube content creators?
I mean, they've done some promotional stuff with celebrities. That so clearly there are some celebrities that at least are like peripherally aware of Magic stuff. They haven't done that yet, but they could. I mean, they've done enough. Man, if with all the Jurassic Park stuff, you've got Jeff Goldblum.
That's what I mean.
On
like,
cards
it's not
and
like,
stuff. Yeah,
it's not like real human beings being on Magic cards isn't a thing.
There was an event where you played with his avatar. Oh, right.
It's kind of cool.
Okay, that's
Danny
cool.
Trejo as an avatar in Arena. Yeah, but I mean, I want to play like
I want to
have them
like on a card, like they're Planeswalker or something.
Or play against them, and they have like a bunch of like taunt voice lines for Post Malone and Danny Trejo. That'd be great. Anyway, isn't Patton Oswalt, I think, also has done some promotional stuff for Magic?
Well, yeah, he and Trejo did a commercial together to promote Magic.
Yeah,
to promote Arena during the pandemic.
There was a really weird like escape room thing that they did as a promotion for one of the sets.
Okay.
That was like a bunch of celebrities are like in an escape room trying to get out and stuff, which was not like, it was clearly just like a setup thing.
Yes. Yeah,
it wasn't actually like them doing
a real escape room.
Yeah. Anyway. There was some Nintendo news.
Oh, good.
Over the week.
How about
because there was the Pokemon Day 2024.
I'll be over here.
Wow.
Pokemon Day, Beach. All right, I know.
No, I'm happy to do this, but I didn't watch the thing, so I'm just going to put my feet up and listen.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't watch it either. I can still have opinions about things.
I might have opinions.
Just because I don't know anything about it doesn't mean I can't have
You're right. That is my job on this show, in fact.
Let's start with this. Do you guys know why it's Pokemon Day? Do you know why they chose the 27th of February to be Pokemon Day? Because they always do it on that day.
Is it Ash's dad's birthday?
No. Paul? You got a guess? They tell you at the beginning of the video, so...
I did not watch the video.
I know,
so
but that's why I'm asking if you know. If you
is it when the first Pokemon game came out?
Yes. Red and Green were released in Japan.
Ah.
Yeah.
See?
That's right.
These are not unguessable things. They did I think less than 15 minutes for video.
Yeah, it was
and it was very snappy.
Good. Real snappy.
In the past, Pokemon Presents kind of can encapsulate anything Pokemon for the year. In previous years, they've talked about anime, they've talked about like the actual collectible card game, and everybody's always waiting for the big thing at the end. What's the new mainline game? What's the remake? Tell me about the spin-offs.
One more thing.
Yeah, what's the thing you're going to make me buy $90 of, and then I'm going to complain about for the next 3 goddamn years?
Yeah, so the beginning, what they covered was all their mobile game stuff.
Yeah.
They covered updates, Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Go.
Which is I love there. Like announcement. Pokemon Go. Pikachu has a hat.
Hey,
Pikachu having a hat in Pokemon Go is pretty. I wish they would let you move those Pokemon over to the other games, because I'd love to have Pikachus with hats running around in them, but they don't. Pokemon Sleep.
New Pokemon Sleep characters.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're adding some legendaries.
Okay.
New things to watch you sleep.
I could never ever describe my sleep as legendary, I don't think.
No.
No.
I'm not sure who could.
No, I think just Snorlax. That's how I would describe my sleep. Pokemon Master Sex.
I would say I feel like Snorlax is like the best sleeper though.
Yeah, he is really.
He is.
But he's
So like if your sleep is like Snorlax, it's just you're out and nobody can wake you up.
That's why Snorlax is the Pokemon for Pokemon sleep. It's like,
I mean, it makes sense.
yeah. In fact, he's the one that's sleeping, and all the Pokemon come around him.
Although as a guy to like monitor your sleep, maybe he's not so good.
yeah.
I think they use a machine for that.
Some sort of.
I don't think Snorlax is actually doing the science work.
So any new?
Yes, Pokemon Masters X is celebrating its.
I know how it's spelled.
It's celebrating its 4.5 year anniversary.
Yeah. You think
I don't
Sonic's
know.
30th goes on forever? Some of us celebrate every 6 months.
They're going to be adding Gita and Glamora
All right.
to the game, or two new trainers. And Silver and Tyranitar will appear on March 1st.
Right. So Silver's probably the protagonist from Silver, because they did that Red and Blue were the protagonists from Red and Blue. Like,
Oh, that's how they describe the player characters.
that was like a name you could pick.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Gimmighoul is joining Pokemon Cafe Remix. So, yay.
It's a fun little game, right, Heather?
Hey,
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of. It's supposed to be a matching game, but honestly, I fell off of it pretty quick. I still had it on my phone, so I updated it and tried it, and I was like, cool, and I played it for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, I'll totally come back to this, and then I didn't, because it's got a lot of that, like, the moment I turned it on, because it's been a long time since I turned it on, it gave me 5 or 6 different screens telling me about all the things I could buy with real world money.
yeah.
Like
it
it's
feels
very,
like
it's very microtransaction.
the
You don't have to pay the money.
No.
You can play pretty decently without it, but
Like
it's very in your face.
the central like matching and stuff is actually pretty cool, but there's so much like extra, not even, and it's not even that it's like paid in-app purchase stuff. It's just like unnecessarily complicated that there's so many of these like weird little things to buy.
You're doing you're essentially, the conceit is you started a cafe, and Pokemon come up to
Work there.
give you their order.
Yeah.
And you make their order by playing this game. And then if you do that enough times, like friendship levels go up. Some of them will want to come work, and then they get the cute little like chef outfit, or they'll get like the cute little hat.
But then there's like all this weird extra stuff that sort of adds on to it.
Yeah, they've definitely. I poked around for it a bit. So
there's a murder mystery.
There was a bunch of stuff going on that I was like, I don't remember this, but I might not have been playing since like it was actually just Pokemon Cafe Mix.
Remix.
Remix is like It's the same game, but they updated it to a different thing. Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure the way like businesses work isn't that like if you go to a business too many times and you become friends with the owner, you just start working there.
Yeah, you can just start working instead.
For free.
And though I've seen I've been to many places with Serge to eat, and it just seems like
he's worked everywhere.
He can just do that. Hey, buddy, and then he just walks behind the counter and pours a drink or does a thing, and
that's fair. There was
He's an anomaly though.
Yeah. Serge
is a Pokemon
is an outlier and should not be counted. I remember there was a period of time where I think like in one it was like, you know, something from like a video game or a cartoon where like in the course of one day I like went to 3 different places where Serge was working.
Wait, like he was actually working at all of them when you went there?
Yeah. I was like I went to like the parsonage, and then like he for some reason he was like behind the till at like Foo.
Oh wow!
And I was like, why are you here? And so there was somewhere else. I was like,
because 2 is fine, but 3 nickels is too much. Like I mean, that's a lot.
That sounds a lot like a sitcom.
Anyway.
It was like 9 o'clock at night and you showed up at Boomtown or something and he's just all of a sudden waiting tables. You're like, I don't like any of what you're doing to me, Serge. I feel like it's a prank. I feel like you're pranking me and I don't like it.
Right, so Pokemon Unite.
Pokemon Unite. They're adding more
Cerulege.
More Pokemon.
Is this that MOBA thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Pokemon Unite's the MOBA game.
Okay.
Yeah. What's great about Pokemon is like, there's always there's always the thing with like, when games like Smash Brothers or any of these games where you have like a bunch of characters that you play.
Yeah.
There's always like, ooh, what are they gonna
What's the new meta?
and like what in the next expansion, what are they going to put out? Who's going to show up in the game? Who's going to show? Pokemon has a basically infinite roster that they can just load into any game.
It's
right?
true. Yeah.
They just start the game with like 50 different ones.
Yeah.
And then they just can
Continue to add
forever.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
game has to do that ultimately because it's like, we started with 50. And you know what? Nobody seems to complain anywhere near as hard about that as they do about when a mainline game doesn't have all 1,051 Pokemon in them.
Yeah, well, I mean, they kind of threw themselves into that corner. Then they talked about a new mobile game.
Yeah.
New mobile game.
So, although, one may question whether the word game even applies.
Or new.
Well, no, there's fights and stuff in it. I mean, they focused a lot on pack opening.
So there's this new mobile app called Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket.
In fact, I watched a content creator that I follow. I went back and watched them go over the Pokemon Direct, and when the thing started and it was just people opening packs, they were like, is this just a game where all I do is open packs? Like, is there a game portion to this game? That's how heavy they were focused on that.
Well, and there's like that's
It's pretty exciting, actually. I mean,
Well,
that's the best
well,
part about trading card games.
to be honest,
Lots
that
of people
seems like the emphasis that they're really putting on this. Like, here, let's check this out. So this is the trailer. So you get given packs every day, and then you open the packs.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I do think
spent
the
a lot
slide
of work.
motion's pretty cool.
As we all know, the opening animation for packs is very important.
People really like it when there's a very long, drawn-out animation and a bunch of shit you have to do, because nothing beats having to go over stuff again and again.
And yeah,
collecting cards, opening packs. Okay.
opening, like people cracking boxes of Pokemon cards or Magic cards. We have a show where Graham cracks Magic cards, packs of Magic cards. That's
there are
very
There
popular.
are entire channels around it, right?
You can trade your cards. Okay, that makes
Streams
sense.
of people cracking packs are very big.
Quick battles. Okay, so
See, it took
So-
them so long to get to that, though.
But I don't know, they very quickly went through the actual game part, presumably. I mean, this looks kind of neat.
They have this immersive card thing where, you go into the artwork and then there's like other artwork and stuff.
oh my god, it's like the paper fight opening.
I mean, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything beyond it looks cool, though.
Like it.
Also, for some reason, this just makes me think of a McDonald's commercial. It really... Like, it has the kind of music a McDonald's commercial would play.
Well, a lot of them
It's
are
got-
like at restaurants
Yeah,
too.
it feels like they're at a McDonald's. Like, but
So-
I like that they're calling it trading card game, even though they're adding pocket to it, because trading card game is it's a thing they've done for like other video games, and I don't know, they probably called the original that, or
Yeah, something about the sort of, I don't know, like considering how little they emphasized it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what the actual game part is.
it was very brief.
It said because
when
it
showed
said
the
it said
battles.
like and they're supposed to be, they're not, it's not like Pokemon the card game. It's like a sort of
they
a
called it
simplified
quick battles or something.
quick battle
So
thing.
I'm assuming it's essentially like it's very close, but you maybe can only put like a few cards out, and it's meant to be a smaller version, maybe.
They haven't given us any idea of what this will cost. We would assume free to play.
Probably.
But
Yeah.
then also,
But they have said that you get given packs
you get
every
given
day.
packs every day. And if the whole point is that it's supposed to be a thing you check in for 5 minutes to be like, oh, I got my pack showing up today.
Presumably
rip it
you can
open.
buy extra packs.
Yeah. How many more packs do you want to crack on stream?
Now they said for release was 2024.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a certain purity to it just being like, here's a thing. open the thing, and then you can trade them.
Yeah.
Do they do anything? Nope.
Not really, no. I'm a little I'm concerned because if Wheeler wants to play this on stream, then I'm going to be paying for him to crack a lot of packs for this useless fucking app.
As opposed to normally when you pay for him to open packs for different things.
At least if he's cracking packs for other games that he's getting a month worth of playing a game, but it's like and 3 hours at a time of playing a game. For this, it'd be like if the whole thing is just it's done in 5 minutes, I'd be like, oh no.
No, I mean there is a gameplay element to it. It's just yeah.
So, although I think it is important to mention here that because some people asked about it, they have clarified this does not involve NFTs in any way.
Oh my god. I mean, why would it, right?
I will say, if anything should involve NFTs, which it probably shouldn't, but this does seem like a thing where NFTs would be relatively inoffensive.
Yeah.
Just because that is the entire point of it.
Yeah.
If you discount the actual
I mean, given
ecological NFT thing.
given that
But also there's no point to having NFTs in this situation.
I mean, no.
But it would be relatively inoffensive.
Given that Pokemon will flood the card market with reprints of a card, I don't know why they would try to NFT restrict certain things this way.
I kind of think this is great because in that respect that it's this is literally demonstrating that you can do something like this and that whole pig in a poke was never necessary.
Right. So, the other thing, they haven't mentioned it, and I'm assuming because they haven't mentioned it, it's sort of it can be inferred that there isn't going they've talked about trading.
Yes.
But I can assume that there isn't going to be a real money marketplace for cards.
Unless people are like, I need to get a card out of somebody and I'll totally do that. You Venmo me $5 and you can have this.
I mean, there'll be the
third party
but
thing.
It won't be in the game.
Because
trading is
because there's always that aspect of if money can be taken out of the game, then that changes the whole.
Now, Pokemon has always had a thing about trading, so it makes sense that they want to do trading of the cards. Right. But we have other mobile games like Magic's on mobile now, Arena, Marvel Snap is the other popular one, but Hearthstone and whatnot. Any of these other card games, does anyone know if any of them do card trades?
I don't.
Is this kind of a new thing for this style of game?
I mean, you can't do it in Arena, right?
You can't trade in Arena and you can't trade in Hearthstone, I know. Yeah. You can dust cards, but you can't trade them.
Yeah. I haven't heard of that as being
Magic Online
Marvel
you could
Snap.
back in the day. But
it's kind of amazing.
So, I don't know if that's sort of good. And the fact, from what I understand also, these are not connected to the Pokemon card game. It's not you can use the cards you get in this in the Pokemon, the actual digital card game.
So the Yu-Gi-Oh games also don't do trading. That's what I mean. I don't think I've heard, I don't play many of these games to begin with. I kind of want to check this one out because it's a little bit more in my interest set, but the trading of cards from one player to another has never been a thing I've heard of happening in these games.
And all you're going to need to do it is a 12-digit friend code.
They've moved on from that.
I know they've moved on from that.
But
I wanted to get that out there before somebody else did.
Yeah.
It's interesting how compelling if there is no depending on what the actual sort of quick battle thing is. It's how compelling would be a system if it didn't have the quick battle thing at all.
Yeah.
How compelling is just literally pictures.
Yeah.
I do think that could be interesting to find out. If somebody made a game that's just you're just doing that.
Because the people who are cracking packs, the packs that we crack here in the office for Cracker Pack stuff, it's not like we're using those to play, really.
Not really. They go into
occasionally
various
they get
areas.
Used, yeah.
But I do think so. Fire Emblem Heroes does this, right? Where it's not like it's a full-out Fire Emblem game, but it does have kind of a smaller, you still have a person walking around a grid, but it's a much smaller version of that. So my hope is by calling it a quick battle, it's just like it runs very similar to the card game, but maybe it's like on a smaller scope.
Yeah, you don't have to cast mana.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
The or energy or whatever it is. I think if this becomes a thing fairly fast, like, and by I mean like a thing where it's like there's a contingent of people who are like, yo, I really like this. You've got maybe 50,000 people playing this thing or whatever. It doesn't have to be 50 million like Pokemon Go. But you have a chunk of people who are playing this that they're like to have this thing to interact with and they want to do trading and whatever else. We will see a Pokemon TCG Pocket Exchange or Pocket Escrow Service prop up to be like, what are you looking for and what do you want? And to facilitate that exchange so you don't get scammed. So you send me $6 and you send me your fat Pikachu, and then I will send that person your fat Pikachu, and then I will send you 5 of those $6. And then all I had to do was just facilitate this exchange safely, and it's like that way you know that you're getting whatever it is that you want without having to trade cards with each other or some bullshit like that. Maybe I have to like send you some sort of like I have to send you a Pidgey or something to facilitate the exchange, but
the other thing, of course, is that if this is successful as a product, I can imagine you can feel like Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, Magic being like we could have just done that. Like we didn't have to.
Yeah, didn't have to have a game.
We could have just had people. Oh man, that's way easier.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
we spent all this effort making a game.
Putting if they had just put all pictures of like just a bunch of Overwatch baseball cards together, maybe you would have had people interested to do it. Who knows? The one thing we didn't mention is the mainline game that's coming out.
Well, we haven't gotten to that yet because that was the last announcement of the thing.
So the non-mobile announcement.
So.
Because those are all mobile things.
I want to preface this by saying most people were expecting maybe a black and white remake because we had the Pearl and Diamond, which was Gen 4.
Okay.
And we had our mainline game, Scarlet and Violet. And it's very, very often Pokemon does a thing where there's like a mainline game and a remake and then another mainline game and a remake. A
tick and a talk, yeah.
Yeah. They didn't do either of those things.
I see. What did they do?
They did Pokemon Legends Z to A.
Z to A.
Pokemon Legends.
Another Legends game.
Which I'm happy about.
Yeah, you were so happy about it when you came into the bedroom and you were like woke me up and you're like...
I need to preface this with the fact that even though this thing happened at 6 a.m., I watched it at 7 a.m. and I went out and came home and then bothered my husband who was still sleeping.
Yeah.
To tell him that Pokemon was a thing.
Z through to A. It's a Z, then a dash, then an A, and
so I mean the two things. One, not till 2025, which is interesting because that means basically a whole year will go by without big new. I mean there's been some expansions for Scarlet and Violet.
Pokemon, yeah, I mean those just recently
the Terra Raid battles
came out, but like. Pokemon Legends isn't considered mainline.
Right, I guess that's true.
It's still technically spin-off. But usually it's like there's, in November, there is a mainline game, a remake, DLC for the mainline game, something.
Some sort of big drop.
Yeah. And I'm so glad they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Or at least they haven't announced it yet if they are
It'd be weird for them to not talk about that.
And... The other thing that's very interesting is, of course, one of the weird things about Pokemon Scarlet Violet is that Arceus, which came out earlier, a lot of people are like, it's actually like technically better. Not only like from like especially from like a gameplay and like graphics standpoint.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
And so the idea that maybe this is the evolution of the Legends engine and the Legends sort of gameplay as opposed to that's very interesting.
Pokemon Legends Arceus was in the Sinnoh region, which is the Gen 4 region. This is Gen 6.
Yeah, so they skipped a whole region.
The joke is, hey, look, they're finally doing Pokemon Z.
Right.
And it's
the third iteration.
And it's taking place in a time period, or at least the feeling of the time period, is not the same as the time period that was in
Yeah,
X and Y.
definitely a different time period.
And it's also like only in like the big city too.
It also well, they've only shown off a map of a big city.
Right.
And they also talk about things like having a Pokemon partner. Like, it feels like a different kind of game. And I'm kind of starting to wonder if the Pokemon Legends brand is meant to be more of, what if we put like a Pokemon game at what we consider would be an important kind of historical time period for Pokemon.
Yeah, the milestone period.
RCS was very focused on, hey, we need to research Pokemon for the first time because they're scary and everything. And we're just starting the settlement. What if this one's based on having the blueprints and stuff, that this is a big landmark that just kind of...
Yeah, is this the development of a city where Pokemon and people are supposed to be living together? Is the fact that they're building a city here, are they displacing Pokemon and the habitat's changing? Like those kind of things.
Which also kind of implies that all the Pokemon games exist in like one cohesive timeline, which I thought that they were like, there was like multiple universes and stuff like that.
Well, they're all supposed to be different regions.
Different regions. Some of them make reference to other characters and stuff in other games. So, I mean, you could maybe timeline it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so could be very interesting. Also, you know, the this idea that part of the issues with Scarlet and Violet and some of the Pokemon stuff recently that people had disappointment with is that, you know, they've been doing the has to be a new thing every year cycle and are getting, you know, behind the 8 ball on that and kind of getting burned out, and maybe the slowing down the release a little bit is not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because looking at...
That's kind of what I'm hoping they're actually doing.
Yeah, looking at like... you can delay a game if people loved Legends Arceus, and I think it's kind of fair to say that there was just acclaim after acclaim just piled onto Legends Arceus, right? What a great new fun experience you gave us in this Pokemon universe, and for them to be like, okay, cool. Well, that means that on initial launch, people 2021. 2022, when did that come out again?
Arceus?
Yeah, one or the other. If it's around then, it means that here we are 3 years later, and they've said we have done another Legends game. If it's a similar team or if it's whatever to be like, but we've had 3 years to develop that. It's like, good. It's not just a year after year turnaround.
Yeah.
And if the cycle starts to become that, we now have something new that it's like, this year we drop a Legends game. Next year we drop a remake game. Next year we drop the mainline game. Next year we drop the Legends game. And it's like, if you start providing a little more space for yourself, or maybe even spread that out further, so it's every 18 months a new one of those gets dropped.
I mean, we've seen this happen with other franchises. I know Paul's brought up Assassin's Creed as a thing where they try to put out one like every year.
They were putting it every year, and then they were like, we can't do, or you know, this is causing us problems. We're going to slow it down.
There is also, because they've said 2025, and the rumored thing is that the Switch isn't coming out until the next Nintendo console isn't coming out until 2025. Is this a launch
confirmed?
Day game?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, maybe
it'd be quite.
I don't think you will find that there are many games at this point in time that when they say they have that if they're talking about having a release in 2025, they're probably not going to give you a date or anything beyond that. They might, if you're really lucky, give you like, Q1, first half of year kind of thing. But that's really unlikely this far out.
Yeah.
Like, I would venture to guess that there certainly won't be anything before next or 2025's Pokemon Day.
Probably not.
Like 2025's Pokemon Day will probably be like the big outing for this thing.
Potentially.
Anyway, exciting stuff going on in the world of the Pokemans.
Mm-hmm.
Although possibly not like immediately.
Look,
unless you like opening
exciting
packs.
things about Legends is it only comes in one game. You can get all of the Pokemon in the game.
Other Nintendo stuff. Remember, I think it was a week or two ago, we were talking about somebody had made a cool 3DS emulator for VR goggles. So the idea that you could play 3DS in VR with the 3D part of the 3DS, like actually 3D, which I thought was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
A neat way to use VR, because 3DS obviously has the thing where it's got the glasses free 3D, where it can work in 3D even if you don't have glasses. Present company excluded, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I can't see it in 3D does not stop it from working in 3D.
Yes.
So I have to take your word for it.
Anyway, in a sort of related, I guess that was not actually a good intro to this, but anyway, in a slightly related note, somebody has come out with a homebrew emulator for 3DS for Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy emulator that works on the 3DS.
Yes.
That's a great way to put it.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. I like this
Did it
idea
wrong.
that they have basically taken something that is a glasses-based thing and said, what if
Yeah.
we just shove it onto...
It's like, what if the Virtual Boy was actually like usable?
Yeah, glasses free. Yeah.
As this article saying, of the 22 games that were ever released for the Virtual Boy,
Yep.
a couple of them are pretty good.
Yep. Wario Land, I've heard, is quite fun. Tolero Boxer.
So the developer of the emulator, Flugel, the developer emulator, suggests Jack Bros, Wario Land, Teleretro Boxer,
Tolero Boxer. I know, yeah.
Red Alarm, and Mario Clash and Galactic Pinball are all worth checking out. As it says in the article, 27% of the 22 games officially released, which is not that bad at kid rate. Yeah.
Though I have to say that if a pinball game outranks like 70% of the games on a platform, then I have to worry about the quality of the other 70% of the games that came out. Like, oof.
And you can view them like in actual black and white instead of weird red and black.
Yep.
So that
It
it's
might be easier on some people.
easier on the eyes.
There's a whole like slider they show in the demo video about how you can actually change the hue, so you can be like, no, I want to view this in. I don't want it to be red. I want it to be any multiple or any type of hue instead. But
Sorry, this is the
yeah,
Kevin's back to feeling good,
yeah, the ad that you run before the show. Thanks, Jim. Oh, is it still more ads?
Why are there so many?
Well,
That's YouTube, baby.
Hey everyone, John here, and I've always felt one
He has an
there's gonna be
astounding
a-
voice.
I mean, they all do over good vibes.
and North America.
Here we go.
Indistinguishable to actual 3DS quality. If you've played any sprite-based 3DS game in 3D before, then that is exactly what this is like. Like Mutant Mudds or the 3D Classics Nintendo
I like the
games,
green.
or Shovel Knight,
Right.
or Cave Story. It looks exactly like them.
Oh
which is
yeah,
to
so you're
say,
shooting forward into the screen.
I'm just gonna pause Mario.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
To tell you how many layers of clouds I see on this one scene.
I don't think we need to know that info.
Yeah.
Like I was just playing Mario Wonder, and in situations where like you go into the foreground, you go into the background, are actually still pretty cool.
Yeah. They did that in Curdy Robobot. And
there were a number of 3DS games that wanted to play with background and foreground stuff for a little while.
But it's kind of great that this exists, because we're going to tie into another thing that's happening currently, but this is kind of great that an emulator for Nintendo games exists, because it is going to give people an opportunity to experience how good a game can be, despite the fact that you would have no other way of being able to play it, and maybe develop more of an appreciation for what they were trying to do for the time.
And I mean, Virtual Boy games have basically been memory hold by Nintendo. Like they haven't shown up in any of the Virtual Console stuff or any of that.
I'm pretty sure if you were to look on like Nintendo's official timeline for what they were doing during that time, they kind of just won't point it out.
What Nintendo was doing during that time, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
We were doing stuff.
yeah,
Busy.
N64. That's all. Yeah.
the other cool thing, I mean, the other really impressive thing is that when you're talking about emulation, the big question is performance, and the fact that this thing can actually run Virtual Boy games on a 3DS at full speed.
Yeah.
That is not nothing. That is a very impressive feat. Even though obviously the Virtual Boy was less powerful than 3DS, but being able to do that doing that, like, you lose so much power when you do that translation. It's very impressive that they were able to make that change.
And that's you can either say that's because I'm pretty sure the Virtual Boy was an ARM system as well. Because I think
they're able to do a translation rather than a full emulation.
Yeah, probably a little bit easier because and everything from the Game Boy Advance, I believe, was an ARM processor. And I think that was kind of like what Nintendo's focus was, is just doing ARM for everything from the Game Boy Advance forward. Surprised that we haven't, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So therefore, the Virtual Boy maybe had an easier time coming to 3DS because of that. And I guess more that I'm surprised it's like, it feels like it's taken this long, but also it's so great that this happened,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where, for a lot of people, Virtual Boy is not really a priority.
Yeah.
Because, again, 27 games?
22 games.
22 games. And then, at the same time, maybe easier to do because there's only 22 games to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your area, like your testing surface, is not really even that big. You just have to make sure these 22 games work okay. But anyway, I guess we should touch on
what's the thing you don't want to talk about?
The other emulation story.
The other emulation story about Nintendo is dropping the boom on
Yuzu,
the Switch emulator, which obviously emulators do operate in this kind of gray area often, and they the main point of contention in this case, this is a Switch emulator, and the main point of contention was that Zelda
Tears of the Kingdom,
a hacked, or not a hacked, but a leaked copy of the cart, presumably it wasn't like a hack, but it was probably just like somebody got it who was like from a store or something, got it. Somebody broke the release date.
It's most of these games seem to leak about a week or two out these days.
And so it got dumped and it got released before the game was actually available, retail, and downloaded apparently 1 million times or more.
That's what they're saying.
That's what Nintendo is saying.
It's part of their court case for it, yeah.
And also so was downloaded, and presumably people were playing it in emulated form. At that, part of their evidence is that during that same period of time, the Patreon for the emulator increased, like doubled its income.
Yeah.
So the idea that which allows them to make a direct connection between the thing and
attempt to
it allows them to gives them some way to prove that, or at least attempt to prove it.
Yeah. They're the alleging that it's like there's a free version of this emulator, but there's also a paid version of this emulator, and the paid version of this emulator has earned an additional $50,000 for the developers as well. And I read the court case.
Yeah.
Like I read the complaint. Mm-hmm. That's what I was doing last night in bed. Is I'm not reading the Ars Technica article because I kind of know how it's Kyle Orland wrote it. I kind of know how it's going to go down. I'm going to read the actual complaint because I want to process this and be like, how much of a leg do they have to stand in? And I'm like, man, Nintendo's complaint is coming way more from the fact that it's like there's so much on the Yuzu website and the Yuzu blogs and everything else that talk about here's the compatibility rate of all these brand new games that have come out, and here's the stuff we keep testing that we're going to make this better and that better, and it very focused on, like, the whole thing about emulators being legal a lot of the time was related to, this is meant to emulate this hardware so you could run your own program software for it,
or homebrew stuff,
software for it and stuff like that, to be like, that is what this is meant to do.
Yeah, they definitely haven't done themselves any favors from a plausible deniability standpoint.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's gonna make it a little harder, but it also depends on whether if the court is looking at, well, if emulators are legal in the United States, then this, on the face of it, because it is an emulator of another computer system, on the face of it, this thing should be legal. And what you're aiming for is 100% compatibility with the original hardware, which means you have to show how compatible it is with other software that exists on the system already. And when I start saying things like that, it's like, yes, that's pretty innocuous. But when you're talking about, well, you're pirating that software, you're not paying somebody for the sake of that software, it's like, oh yeah, now we start to get into the real weeds of this.
And, and there's, especially things about encryption keys and proprietary information stuff. Obviously, the intersection of emulation and piracy, and software piracy, software, is a contentious one from a legal point of view, and one that there's a lot of nuances to. Software bootlegging I always like rather than piracy.
Yeah.
Just because it's a different kind of thing rather than sort of theft.
Yeah.
But anyway, this
is a thing that is happening.
It's a thing that's happening.
We probably won't see a result for it for a while, because court cases always take a bit of time.
You can tell from how long the complaint is. It's like they've been preparing this complaint for months. Like, this is
likely.
There's a lot that's gone into. There's a lot of stuff you read and you're like, I'm already aware of who Nintendo is. I'm already aware of all the things they've created. Yes, and okay, great. There's like dozens of paragraphs that are just related to, like, here's who we are as a company, and here's what we create, like those kind of things. And it's all the statement of fact, and you're like, okay, like, yes, let's get to the point where you're actually talking about what Yuzu is from your perspective and what it's designed to do from your perspective, and let's see where this goes. And I'm like, okay, well, if all that is true, then, and the court's like, we agree, and yes, you have the prayer of relief is what gets me, right? Like, I didn't realize that was a legal term. I don't read a lot of complaints, but there's a statement of prayer where in a civil case, I guess the United States, that you're saying the complainant prays for the following. They're basically saying, we are beseeching you that you will find.
Oh, this is what we hope that you will.
Yeah, this is the level of relief that we wish to have.
Word prayer. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
You're making a prayer of relief is what you're calling it. It's a very interesting term. I'd never heard before.
Yeah, I've never heard that one.
Yeah, but I'm not a lawyer. I didn't take a lot of law in university, so.
I mean.
So
none of us are lawyers.
We'll see. And unfortunately, there's the good chance that stuff like this, the threat, is enough to scupper the thing without it actually being any definitive result in an actual court of law.
Yeah.
Which is always disappointing from an outside observer, but understandable in the sense of people not wanting to completely destroy their own lives.
Yeah, I would probably fold immediately in that position. Like, it just.
We didn't. It wasn't that long ago that we covered the fallout from the guy, the big
Gary Bowser.
The big leak that happened where
Team Executor. Yeah.
The guy is basically like.
That was definitely
having his wages garnished for the rest of his life.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is what happens. What's always interesting about these cases too is that what's going to come up almost assuredly is the opportunity cost. I guess is maybe it's a weird way to put it, but it's like, would you have, because it's like, lost sales. Clearly 1 million people went and downloaded Tears of the Kingdom. Therefore, that's 1 million copies we could have sold. And it's like, no, that's not how that works.
We all know that.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see if that comes into play as well, to be like, you wouldn't have lost those sales, you wouldn't have ever had those sales otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same arguments as people use for other kinds of software, piracy stuff.
Yeah.
But then the emulator is sort of this extra level on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the only, because I don't want to get into the discussion about like the morality of emulators or the legality of it, but the one thing I do find a little annoying is there have been a couple of podcasts I listen to where I know that there is a person who emulates the games that they play, and that's fine. I don't care that they do that, but I wish they would say so when they're talking about it more often, just because when you're trying to determine if the way a person talks about a game is a game for you, one of the things you also have to determine is how well it works on the device that you're going to buy it for. And to find out that someone played a game and they emulated it and they were playing it on their computer versus the Switch, and they're like, oh no, everything works great and it's all these things, and it's like, oh, okay. And just it annoys me.
And I mean, when you're talking Switch, like in certain circumstances, that can be a big deal.
Yeah. I just, it's, to me, it's the same as like if you've done something to overclock your Switch, I just want to know that you're running that game on an overclocked Switch, so I have an idea of that's the same experience I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to Fortnite.
Also, some emulators don't necessarily run games perfectly when they get
There's
them
that
for
too.
a while,
Yeah.
and that's also good to know.
Because this is not another random folk being added into Fortnite story.
Is
What?
it?
Although I'm sure there's some of that going on this week too.
Right.
But this is new game modes, specifically new Lego game modes.
So when you say new game modes, are you saying if you go into Fortnite Lego, there's a separate mode in Fortnite Lego? Or is this that thing where it's like instead of just Fortnite Lego, there is now Fortnite Lego something?
I do not know.
Okay, that's fair.
So there are there's two new Lego games: Lego Raft Survival and Lego Obby Fun.
I'm
Obby
sorry,
Fun?
what?
OBBY. Lego Obby Fun.
Okay.
Bring your own Lego? That doesn't make sense.
No.
Both new games will be compatible with Lego Fortnite skins. So Lego Raft Survival combines frenetic multiplayer problem solving with classic Lego Pirates theme. I think they're getting in on like Black Flag being
Skull and Bones.
the infamous Blackbeard challenges players and their friends to stay afloat on a raft in unfriendly waters. Players must survive the raft against cannonballs shot from Barracuda ship, collecting wood and treasures as resources to build more rafts.
Huh. Yeah, actually, it sounds oddly separate from the other Lego game.
And Lego Obby Fun is the first official Lego-themed obstacle course in Fortnite that offers a Lego-themed take on climbing and problem-solving through brick-built platforms designed by actual Lego designers.
Which definitely feels like we're starting to bring back the more build your shit in Fortnite thing.
Packed with hot dogs, pizzas, unicorns, and more. I believe that these have been... these are sort of showing off the Lego or the what's it called, the Fortnite self or the Fortnite building your own stuff, sort of Roblox-ish thing that they've been working on.
I see.
Where you can
but it's not we're gonna give everybody access to build whatever you want, except we're gonna give developers access to build modes of a game that utilize the stuff that already exists within Fortnite. You know, so it's like Lego is a thing that exists already, and so the Lego game developers are like, great, we're going to utilize the fact that you have these things that exist within the game already, and we're going to remix them into a different style of game.
Right. Yeah. Fortnite Creator is a thing that they've been doing, that they're working on doing in terms of and allowing people to build, again, Roblox-esque, allowing people to build experiences
So
and then sell them and they
Right,
take,
yeah.
and they
So
take a cut, of
because
course.
there's difference. There's like lots of games have course creators and stuff where it's like it'd be a lot like Mario Maker, right? Where it's like you hear your things, move stuff around, do
Right.
stuff. But you're saying this is more like Roblox, where
I think there's more like
there's,
it's not
like,
it's
maybe
not
more
just
to it than that.
yeah, it's not just making you can actually it's not just like make a level, you can actually make more quite advanced things. Of course using because they've got, you know, the whole engine and everything. Apparently obby games, short for obstacle course games, are a Roblox thing.
So that's why they're calling it that. Okay.
Yeah.
I can accept that I don't understand anything that goes on with Roblox.
I have this kind of I definitely have this feeling from this that it's like, hey, we noticed somebody else doing a thing. I guess it's time to do that good old Fortnite thing where we put the tentacles out and we drag all that shit into our game.
Yeah, they basically. I mean, it's not what the you know. Epic's got the thing where they've got, you know, of course they have the Epic store and the Epic launcher and stuff, and they're like, people are spending time playing things that aren't Fortnite.
Yeah.
We have to put a stop to this.
Yes.
Well, they want Fortnite to be that whole
The
metaverse
game
thing where everyone goes to play all the games. So really, it's just an extension of that.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, at some point they will just have a mode where it's just the elder Gen Zs hanging out, right? Like that's just what it's going to be. It's like whoever's playing Fortnite like from like 5 years ago when they were like little children, where it was probably, you know, they could barely hold a mouse.
I mean,
I'm sure they're getting to that point where
the term elder Gen Zs as a whole is slightly terrifying.
The elder Zoomer at some point is going to be like, I want to hang out with my friends in Fortnite, but we're all 17 years old and we smoke weed now, so what do we do? And it's like, I don't know, they'll have like a fucking blacklight mode or something, and you guys can all hang out in Fortnite together and smoke weed in your own house. And
I can't hear the word elder. Like, I know it's an actual term we use. It's things like respect your elders and whatever.
Yeah.
But I literally cannot hear that word without thinking of things like the elder ones. And so every time you say elder Gen Z, I just keep thinking of these eldritch beings.
Oh, fair.
Except they have backwards hats and skateboards.
Also, they're not using mouse and keyboard. They're playing on mobile.
That's
probably.
true, right?
Yeah.
They're all playing on their
Yeah, they got to
phones.
open their Pokemon packs and do things.
It's hard for me to picture a lot of this because as an elder zillennial, pronounced with an X, I have no fucking clue what the kids do these days when they play their video games. So you know, I have a controller with sticks and buttons.
I know based on things that I read and based on podcasters who have kids who talk about the things their kids play, they're not things I want to do, which makes sense. I'm not in that age group.
So I'm just going to turn the temperature down a hair because
Beach
I'm in a long sleeve
Beach is
shirt,
turning
feeling
down
warm, so.
the temperature in the room in case you're wondering what is going on.
Except the heat pump hasn't even started to do anything, so that's whatever.
Well, I'm sure we'll be done soon.
Yeah. You're right.
Remember when Starfield came out? It was a little disappointing for some people. Mm-hmm. And there was a big uptick in No Man's Sky purchases.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So people are like, this is kind of what we wanted in the first place.
Right.
Well, Skull and Bones came out. It's a little disappointing for some people.
Oh, no.
And guess what game got a big uptick in players?
No Man's Sky?
Assassin's Creed 4.
Oh, okay. I just think it would be funny if every time another game came out that people were disappointed in, everyone went and bought No Man's Sky again for some reason.
The game we all wanted in the first place. Hey, yeah. So, yeah, Assassin's Creed 4 has had its highest concurrent players since 2020 happened this week. It's nowhere near like the peak of where it has been, but everyone's
we've all had that experience, right? Where like you play a game, like a game that you just bought, or maybe it just came out, and you're just like, yeah, I really just want to play more of this other thing, and you like put it down and go pick it up. It's like an older game.
Sid Meier's Pirates.
What was the game that always? I remember when we play it on stream, or not play it on stream, but is it Vampire Bloodlines? One of the Vampire the Masquerade games.
Okay.
I recall that there's a couple of games we played on stream that people in the chat were like, this game just makes me want to play Vampire Bloodlines.
I was gonna say Bloodlines is usually the one that people want you to play because it's got you need like a bunch of mods to make it playable, but it's the thing people actually want.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why everyone's very hyped for Bloodlines 2. Should that ever
right?
release.
Although it's gone through a quite a
tumultuous.
Yes.
Tarantulas. This is a very interesting idea that people, upon salivating for the new, and then upon seeing it are like, man, you know what I wanted to do is just actually play more World of Warcraft. Like that kind of idea of I was waiting for the new this, I was waiting for the new that. I haven't touched the old thing in a while. And the moment they get the new thing, they're like, I can't believe I spent $70 on this when all I really wanted to do was just play more of the other thing.
Well, and I think there's also like your palate has been wedded for this thing.
Yeah.
And you've been like, well, I won't play the other thing because this new thing's going to come out.
Right.
And then it comes out and you're like, oh. But I still want the thing that I was wanting.
Yeah.
And I guess I could just go to the thing that I had.
Yeah. I mean, new is exciting, right? There's possibilities. There's hype aside. There is this idea of something new and shiny is on the horizon, but because you don't hold it yet, it can be all the things that you're thinking about.
Yes.
Until you hold
it. lives in potentia.
Yeah, until you actually hold it. And maybe it's good, maybe it's better, or maybe you're just like, okay, well, tried that, but now that you've had that kind of moment of I went to play it, but I really do want that other experience, you almost at that point have to go get it.
And of course, though, the way that things have been going, I guess this is really what gets me, is that for people who are playing Starfield, who are like, man, actually, I really just want to play No Man's Sky, where people, when they went and got No Man's Sky, were like, oh, I thought this is going to be more like insert whatever your previous game is here, right?
Right.
More like Elite or whatever. Right? It's more like
expectations are shifting as things come out. Yeah.
And the window keeps moving along. And then No Man's Sky gets worked on. They make a lot of changes, add whatever. And then people might play a little bit of that. And they're like, oh, that's good, but I feel like I've missed the point. And then Starfield comes out. They're like, actually, you know what? Maybe I really should play No Man's Sky. And I wonder, too, because when Black Flag came out, were there people who were like, oh, great, new Assassin's Creed game. Actually, you know what I really wanted this to be is more like this other Assassin's Creed game or this.
I mean, I'm sure there was
Prince of Persia.
So I mean, it's been
Tecmo Super Bowl. I don't know.
I mean, it was. I think even when it came out, people were pretty happy with it. But I could see that people might have been like, "What's with all the boat stuff?
Yeah,
I want to just run around."
Yeah, or they're like, I just want to play Wind Waker.
I mean, I assume it's very closely tied to that. You ever watch a game someone else is playing, or somebody mentions a game you haven't thought about in a while, and now you have to go play it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume it's very in your brain is probably tied.
And then you go and you play a couple hours and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember why I dropped this in the first place.
Yeah. And I just think that's interesting that we might be caught in this thing where in about another 7 or 8 years they're going to release something and people are being like, yeah, but actually I think I just wanted to play Starfield, and they go back and they play their copy of Starfield that they've had for 7 years that they've barely touched because they're like,
no, still don't like it.
Yeah. Could happen, right? I think the chain is interesting, and I wonder what that chain, because I don't even know if it's nostalgia per se.
New thing comes out, they're like, I really want to play Starfield. They start playing Starfield. Like, no, actually, I want to play No Man's Sky. Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, Starfield will have many patches by then, probably. And
it's true. Who knows?
No Man's Sky, when it came out, was an interesting disaster fire of its own, right?
I mean, yeah.
So although it's going to be different, but there's also
No Man's Sky is probably an outlier in that regard.
I've played some games, and either it's been I've been in the wrong mood to play that game, or I don't know, it just was not a game I wanted to play. And then like maybe years later, it's like, oh, I see so and so's playing that. I never finished that. I should go pick it up, and I start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember how to do anything.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this game's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a certain, different games require a different sort of mental space.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just not there. And that's fine. You know.
I mean, there's like, I failed my computer 115 class in university. I took first year. It was programming, and I didn't hand in a couple assignments, and I failed the course, and I struggled the entire time through it anyway, and I had to take it to pass. And so I waited till my last year, and I took the last opportunity it was available for me to take it, that I would still be able to get my degree, and I flew through the course. And this is like about a 5-year difference in time from like when I originally and then when I was taking it now, and I hadn't done any real programming because I hate to program in between time, but somehow steeping in all the other stuff that I'd been doing for multiple years, that I was like, oh, now I get it, now I understand it, and now my brain has the certain level of plasticity and understanding that it actually gets these concepts, and then I just flew through the course.
I mean, I've had a couple college courses I've retaken. It's great to do that because then it takes your fail grade and makes it a different grade, and it's better for your average overall.
Yeah.
But also it's like you got a second chance to reread the material, right? Like your brain had time to soak it in and actually deal with concepts you already get. Cool, done with that. And you could maybe deal with things you were having a harder time with.
And maybe that's what's happening here too, is people are like, I liked this older game that I stopped playing for who knows what reason, and then they come back to it like, oh, all this integrates a lot better now. It's like playing a board game for the fourth or fifth time.
With like really complicated games.
Yeah.
Generally go through the tutorial, drop it because it was a lot, come back later, redo the tutorial. It's like, wait, I understand what they're saying this time.
Yeah.
Gearbox is
on fire?
Hopefully not.
Oh, good. Glad to hear.
But they are leaving Embracer Group. So they were bought by Embracer.
So this came out like this morning, I think.
Yeah. You linked to this.
Yeah, well, because the other thing that I didn't link to is Toys for Bob is also going independent. And like it just kind of feels like there's a shift happening.
Are you allowed to buy yourself out from being in this kind of like concubine?
I mean, people
environment?
do all the time.
Holy shit! I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah,
I thought it was like, we own you. You can never leave.
Well, sometimes, or just they're bought by like a different company.
Well, I mean, I think you can.
But
if you have the money, you can pay for yourself.
Saber. Bungie did it from. Activision,
it just feels like within
didn't really go that well
today
for them,
and maybe yesterday, it feels like there's a bunch of like, okay, we all know that Embracer Group's been laying off a lot of people, or that Embracer Group's going to sell some groups that they bought, but like now we have ones that are like, well, what if we just go?
Yeah, rather than Embracer shutting us down because whatever, why don't we just leave? And so we've talked about Embracer's. Hug of everything that they were doing a couple of years ago has been they've been losing their grip for the past year or so. They've had some serious financial problems. Well, I don't know.
Right. Saber left Embracer. That was the other one.
Yeah, Saber. So they have gone just in the last couple of days, a couple of companies have said they're leaving Embracer, and I'm assuming that kind of thing, because Embracer has having these problems, they're probably we were going to close you guys down anyway, so go away. As long as you're gone, we don't care.
Yeah. But
whether we fire you or you just leave, either way, we're fine.
Yeah, it feels like because we went through that time where Embracer Group was embracing everyone. Everyone was very excited about it because that's very cool. And then
clearly they overextended.
They stopped giving out hugs.
Yeah.
And pushing off people on cliffs.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of I don't know. I guess it feels brighter, the idea that groups are going elsewhere or doing something rather than
we have
the layoffs we keep hearing about.
I mean, we have literature that describes this the literature says, the more you tighten your grip, the more game studios slip through your fingers.
That's why you're supposed to rule your iron fist in a velvet glove. It's got more traction on the velvet. It's harder for things to slip through your fingers. He does stain really easy.
Yeah,
though.
it's true, exactly.
So anyway, we'll see. I mean, sort of celebrating Gearbox's independence is a little mixed because they themselves are sort of responsible for all sorts of questionable things.
Yep.
But, I'm sure that, especially since there's like a Borderlands movie coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
So presumably they have some hand in at least making money on that.
That's probably how they did it.
I haven't played Borderlands. All I really know about it is the artwork I've ever seen, like the cover art of the dude, the face dude, like gold whatever.
With the
with
whoa.
the gun.
Yeah.
So I just assume he is a golden version of Deadpool.
No.
Okay.
But anyway, in fact, that guy is like, that's just like the game's equivalent of like a Goomba. Like that's just regular dude.
Oh,
they put a Goomba on the cover?
Stomp on those dudes. Okay.
Or those are just like the regular mooks. The actual people, the actual like heroes of the game aren't on the cover.
I mean, we really do that thing of, boy, every time a large publisher, developer, somebody group buys a bunch of small indies and pulls them in and be like, okay, now we own you and you're going to make your stuff for us, so we're going to have all these complications.
Have all the indies
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, and we always like the Checkpoint especially is just kind of like, oh man, the amount of indie companies are like drying up and they're doing whatever, and we never really know the business reasons for why they did that, because if the person who made the tiny studio was like, I want to make games, I want to make cool games and bigger, bigger, and then they're like, I will sell myself to Microsoft and then we can make fantastic huge games, or they're just like, or I'll sell myself to Microsoft and because I just need a huge payout, like I just want to get out of doing this business.
I mean, there's
that
there's a lot of ways that buyouts can go, and we've seen there's been lots of positive things, and of course there's been lots of negative ones as well.
Yeah, but I never end up feeling like whenever those things happen, it's like I don't really know why you opted for that and what, like whether you're like it's good for the industry or it's good for me or it's good for the company or.
So one of the takes I've seen on social media is the quiet caution of going from something large to going independent.
Yeah.
And that's because when you're in, like, if Microsoft is taking care of you, that means you don't have to worry about payroll, accounting, marketing, and a bunch of other stuff.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of like background work. It lets you be the developer.
Yes.
Yeah,
right?
giving up control of that is a good way. But if you are, for instance, a developer, maybe you don't want to actually because if you're the head of a company that designs video games, you don't actually get to do a lot of development.
And those things are completely different skills as well. So like. It's easy to say, oh, well, I'll just go out on my own. But now you have to learn Finance 101.
Yeah.
Right? Like and maybe you have people who do that already. Maybe you don't. But like having, we see this amongst content creators and stuff too, right? The people who are like, oh, I'll just sit down and stream and it'll be really cool. And then they find out all of the other things they suddenly have to learn about computers and social media and finances and taxes. And it's a lot.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, and I certainly have no animosity or whatever towards people who choose to sell their company to a larger entity. Sometimes it can be a bit of a bummer.
Yeah,
but it's certainly not something that I think. Anybody, I don't think anybody has any right to judge what a particular developer or content creator or whoever feels like the best move is at that time for them.
Yeah.
You know,
The bigger-
people's circumstances are all different.
The bigger problem is, getting picked up by a larger company, and again, now you don't have to think about certain things. You can just work on your game. That's all very positive. It also had that sense of security, right? Because you know that someone can actually pay you. But when you have like all these layoffs happening and Bracer Group and stuff, it's like, well, that whole sense of security you once had.
Yeah,
Certainly
I mean
broken.
that's the problem, right? Is that there is a trust issue there.
Yeah, because
That
I used to see things all the time where it's like this indie is getting picked up by Microsoft or Xbox or whatever, and they're very excited about that. And I always felt that was very exciting as well, because it's like, you don't have to worry about so much stuff right now.
Yeah.
That's great. And now I'm not so sure it's exciting at all.
I don't know if the world is a better place when it has thousands of indie studios creating thousands of games or not, because I also don't, I've looked at a lot of games and on a lot of web shops, and you're just kind of like, a lot of these don't look like they're very good at all. They look like they're just like a lot of them like look like they're like, oh man, you're just really getting started here and you're trying to sell these very simple things, and but also, I don't think the world is a great place when it's got 5 AAA titles that get released every year that cost $1 billion to make, and even if they sell 100 million copies, they're a failure. I'm like, that's also not a good way to run things.
I guess it depends on your point of view.
Yeah.
No, Bish. As Microsoft has told us extensively,
What did they tell us?
the consolidation and them buying up other companies actually increases competition and innovation.
Oh, you're right. I forgot.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good thing they also didn't try to say it increases jobs, because that's definitely proven false too.
I mean, they did say that they wouldn't fire everybody into the
They lied about
Yeah.
that. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, final thing, talk about something that technically this is only sort of peripherally video game related, but it does involve the video games for a lot of people, and that's NVIDIA has released an update to their specifically to their drivers, but to their control panel system.
Oh, good.
And if you've got an NVIDIA card, you may have been frustrated in the past, like I have, by the fact that there's like 3 or 4 different NVIDIA apps. There's like there's like the NVIDIA control panel.
Mm-hmm.
There's the GeForce Experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that one keeps
There's
popping
the
up for some reason.
RTX stuff, which is their all their other noise removal and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's various other things. So their first thing is they're going to be consolidating that into one thing.
Okay, I mean, that sounds better.
Okay, that can be dangerous sometimes. That's because can you become instead of being like the iTunes of music, become the iTunes of fucking everything, and so that can be the problem.
I mean, we don't need the GeForce thing to go away forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Also, it's the bad GFE. Anyway, go ahead.
But the most important part about this, which I like this, and I agree with this Archdetic article, which is NVIDIA's announced the public beta of a new app for Windows that does a few useful things and one big thing. The one big thing is that previously, if you use, say, the GeForce Experience, part of what that is supposed to be for is getting the new drivers for your graphics card, and it detects what version you're on and gives you the install things. Theoretically, you can also download that stuff directly from the NVIDIA website, but it's kind of a pain in the butt because you have to keep track of what version you're on yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's super handy because it'll pop up and be like, hey, there's a new version of this driver. Do you want to download it? And then it'll automatically do that. But in order to do that, you have to log in. You have to create an NVIDIA account and log into that NVIDIA account. And like I said, you can just download it from the website.
Okay.
without logging in. So like, it's not like they require you to log in to download the driver.
Okay.
Unless you're using this thing.
They require you to log in to run the program, which does the driver downloading.
Great.
Which is very frustrating, especially if you're, the situation where you can often be in where you're
rebuilding a computer.
Yeah, you're rebuilding a computer, you're installing a whole ton of stuff, and you're updating a bunch of drivers, doing a bunch of stuff, and the last thing you want to do is have to create yet another account for this thing.
Right.
Also, I know from experience, the NVIDIA account creation system is a little wonky.
Oh, good.
It has fairly stringent requirements for like what your password is. I'll tell you this now. I have changed it since then. I have changed the password, but previously the password for my NVIDIA account was capital H8 everything, as in hate everything.
Oh yeah, I've done a few of those.
Because at that point I had tried like 10 different passwords.
Great.
And it had not disallowed them for various reasons.
Right. Yeah.
I was just
very
like,
opaque reasons, I'm sure. Yeah.
So wait, is the big thing that we don't have to log in anymore?
so now you don't have to log in anymore,
To get the driver.
which you shouldn't have had to in the first place.
No, exactly.
But now you don't have to log in. So now you can actually run the program without logging in to get the stupid
I'm
drivers.
happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy about that. But I just think it's really funny. It's like, oh yeah, what's your big new thing? We make you not have to log in anymore in order to update your drivers.
Victory.
And the fact that like the reporting on this, I'm glad that the reporting on this is the way it is, in that indicates that like other people had the same frustration with it that I did, which is just like, why do I have to log in for this? Why do I have to create an NVIDIA account? I hate this.
Yeah, I mean, there's several things that want you to make accounts that I'm like, I know exactly why you're doing this, but you don't need it.
The new Prince of Persia demo on the Switch.
You're just still angry about that.
Still mad about that.
I'm going to tell you, it's probably not just on Switch that it makes you do that.
No.
That's just an Ubisoft thing.
To get past, once I got past the language selection screen, it was just like, oh, you'll have to create this account or log in with your account. I'm like, oh, great. Well, I'm done playing. I haven't even played the game and I'm already done.
Harsh but fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is the last piece of news that I had marked for theoretical potential checkpoint thing. Go into the comments on YouTube or whatever.
Tell me about Pokemon. I read these comments most of the time, so tell me about Pokemon.
Tell us about Pokemon, and also give your speculation as to which stories may have ended up in the episode checkpoint for this week. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what stories would have tickled the fancy of Grammar Kathleen, or possibly stories from completely different sources.
Yeah.
Because that often happens as well. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us for this episode of ChillPoint. And we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.